Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
What up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world. It is your boy, Mac, the Giants fan, with my guy, Adam Costas. This is the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro, baby.
Cash flow.
Going on? What's good, everybody out there? How y'all feeling today, man? How you doing today, Adam?
Hey, I am good. I had to put the shades on because it's going to be a freaking fire out there. It's going to be so bright today. I hope you people are ready. I hope you're ready. You know why? Because this weekend marks the first weekend we get football from now until February. Think about that.
Yes, sir.
My wife hates
yes, sir. So, what's going on in the chat, Miz? Logan, Randall, what's going on? Thanks for coming through, man. But yeah, this is Real Deal NFC East Roundup Training Camp Preview Edition. And we're going to be breaking down, previewing all these training camps for the NFC East teams, upcoming training camps. Rookies are starting to report to some training camps, as we already know. It's like my guy Adam Costas just said. It's really here now. It's about to be real. It's about to be real.
Logan said, I'm a detective. Yeah, I'm searching for the next QB of the New York Giants. I haven't found him quite yet. So, no. But, so, Mac, I get it. This is it. People, I want to say this before we start. Get the vibe. It should start from your feet and then rise up through the body, because right now the march for the Lombardi begins. It doesn't matter who your team is. It doesn't matter what you said during the offseason. It doesn't matter about a damn thing, because you know what? Everybody's the same record, and here we go. Get on the train, get on the bus, and get ready. Now, I'm not going to make outlandish comments. All I'm saying is the feeling you should get at this time of year. It's almost like Christmas, but better, right? Because you get it for another 6 or 7 months. Christmas, you only get one day. This, you get to open every present and every little training camp nugget and detail. Oh, my God, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Well, okay, Adam. So since you can't wait, I'm not going to keep you waiting, sir. And we're gonna get started with this team down here, the Washington Commanders. Expectations for the Washington Commanders heading into training camp.
My expectations for the Washington Commanders heading into training camp was, first off, let's not underestimate this team. I don't think they're going to be great. All right, I'm thinking like 9-8, something like that, 8-9 maybe. But they have a decent quarterback coming in, right? It's not Tyler Heineke. All right, it's Carson Wentz. I know people laugh at Carson Wentz, but let's be real. He was almost an MVP in 2017. Now, I know people say almost, but you can't fault him for hurting his knee, right? Like, it is what it is. The stats are there. The performance was there. He was MVP. Now, he had a fallout in Philadelphia, goes to Indianapolis, and kind of tries to resurrect his career. Now, on the flip side, the Commanders, that crappy team name, had a quarterback by the name of Tyler Heineke. Now, Mac, is Carson Wentz better than Tyler Heineke?
He is significantly better than Tyler Heineke.
Okay. So if he is significantly better, right, and that team won 7 games, you got to think that they're in the running for probably 9 to 10 with Carson Wentz. Wentz if you try to give him the same earmark. The other thing is Terry McLaurin, man, most underrated receiver in the NFC East by far. Doesn't get the pub. Even Kenny Galladay, who's done one-leg Kenny, I like to call him, because it seems like he only has one leg every week he plays, always injured, missing something. One-leg Kenny gets more publicity than Terry McLaurin. And Terry McLaurin is better, faster. He's going to have a competent quarterback. I've heard rumors, and again, there are rumors, and they're coming from the Washington beat reporters, that Carson Wentz has made this offense more dynamic, that Terry McLaurin cannot outrun Carson Wentz's throw. Unlike last year where he had, a noodle arm throwing to him, right? So he didn't get to do it. And he still had like close to 1,000 yards, if not 1,000 yards. Then I give him Carson Wentz plus Josh Dotson, who's pretty good. They have Curtis Samuel who'll be on the gadget plays. I really think their offense is going to be better than we think.
I mean, I think their offense is going to be definitely upgraded, like you said. Just from when you upgrade the quarterback position, it's going to definitely make an impact. And I mean, for what it's worth, Taylor Heineke had that offense moving pretty decent. I mean, most of the season, he had his hiccups obviously along the way. But he is what he is. He's a backup quarterback. He's Taylor Heineke.
I'm glad you said that because I think people forget about that. He's not good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so
what was that word you used? I think you said significantly better was Carson Wentz.
I mean, he is. I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, Carson Wentz almost was almost the MVP of the league just a few years ago. Can't forget that, man. His skills he's been through a lot these last few years, obviously, from the Philly to the Colts, now in Washington, man. But this guy, man's got to get it back on track. And who said he's still a pretty young guy? It's not like he's some ancient old man. So he can get it back together. Carson Wentz can have his team really in the mix, man, because like we were speaking earlier before we went on air, man, this division is actually full of a lot of intrigue this year, man. That's why I'm so glad we're going to be covering it the whole way because there's so much going on, man. Like I said, we're the unknown. Giants are the unknown in this division this year. Washington is the team I think a lot of people are sleeping on. I mean, Dallas and Eagles on paper look like the the two front runners, but this Washington team right here could be sneaky good, man. And if they can fix up plug in the little couple holes they had on defensively last year, like back in that secondary, get that back in check, things can start looking up for this Washington team.
Well, here's things, and I wrote some things down. Right, the Washington, I call them the Redskins, but for this purpose, I'll call them the Commanders. The Commanders have a lot going on with their owner, and a lot of craziness that's going on with their organization, and then you have their coach that's speaking out. So there's a lot going on distraction-wise for this team. However, when you look at it granularly, like you said, defensively, they have a first-round picks that need to perform. Chase Young's coming off an ACL. I know that's not great, but let's be honest, he does draw a lot of attention when he's out there. So even a 80%, 90% Chase Young is beneficial if he can play to help Montez Sweat. Their defense is pretty good overall. They have Jack Del Rio calling the defense, so it's not going to be any slouch. Kelly Holcomb's their starting middle linebacker. And we'll see where it goes from there. I think their secondary is a little weak, but we'll see what happens. But at the same time, you look at them last year. I think their defense wasn't atrocious, but I also believe their offense is going to help out that defense because we forget that now Carson Wentz, they have a decent running game, right? They have a plethora of backs, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, and they got the bruiser. They got Junior. I forget what his name is, first name, Brian Jr., his name, right? So they have some guys out there that are really going to be bangers, right? It's a matter of, like I said, Carson Wentz. Now, again, who does he have to play better than? Jalen Hurst? I mean, Daniel Jones? I mean, like, if you look at Carson Wentz, I'm just saying for real. Like, we're talking about Tyler Heineke had 7 wins, better than the Giants had all season, right? Now you put in a guy who's actually competent, and you're trying to tell me that he can't steal a few victories from Philadelphia, which he's going to play a revenge tour type of game against those people. Let's be honest. So let's say they win that game and they win a couple on the schedule against Minnesota or something like that. And here we are, we're talking about the Commanders now possibly fighting for a wild card, right? And with a lot of the other teams that are going on that we'll get into, maybe they have a chance to steal it. I mean, if we think the Giants and Giant fans who are, a lot of them who are on here, thank you for showing up, think that we have a chance to win this division, then what do you think the Commander fans feel when an actual quarterback who legitimately was in an MVP race outside of maybe Dak Prescott, all right? So I can't just poo-poo them now. Now, if they had Tyler Heineke, I'd be like, well, Giants have a better chance of beating the Washington Redskins this year than last year. But this year with Carson Wentz, it's a different story. And like I said, the rumors I'm hearing, he's doing pretty well.
I mean, another thing, like you just on top of the Carson Wentz thing, the Washington Commanders are also a pretty well coached football team. Ron Rivera's a coach that's took a team to a Super Bowl. I mean, he didn't win it, but he's been there before. He's great reputation down in Carolina as a head coach, and he's kind of turned things around in a sense in this Washington team as far as at least on the field the last few years since he's been there. So also keep that in mind and address like what Pat said, about their wide receivers. In my opinion, Terry McLaurin is the best wide receiver in this division. In my opinion, I know some people might want to say CeeDee Lamb or something, but I forgot about. AJ Brown is now in this part of this division, so I forgot about AJ Brown, but. Terry McLaurin is still definitely a stud, man. And Carson Wentz, he's just going to be what the doctor ordered for Carson Wentz because he hasn't.
I want to touch on something you said
in a few years.
I want to touch on something you said. You brought up a good point that I don't think anybody hit on. The coaches, Ron Rivera, right? He has a history of building a program in Carolina, right? I know he has underachieved, but he went to the playoffs his first year. Right, the second year they didn't have the greatest quarterback situation, so they didn't win. So now he's in his third year with the same kind of system with an actual quarterback that's not a rookie, right? That he has to groom in. I could see things happening for this team. Like honestly, Matt, coaching does matter in the NFL. That someone brought that point up last night. That if you have good coaching, so if we believe that Ron Rivera is a decent coach, and you go down the list, I mean Daboll, McCarthy, and you have Sirianni. I mean. Sirianni, if you did not know what he did last year, you probably put him in last, right? Then you probably go Daboll and then, Rivera and then McCarthy, only because McCarthy won a Super Bowl. But with Sirianni up there, I think he's over Brian Daboll because he brought his team to the playoffs. So Ron Rivera is probably the number 2 coach in this division. Now, he did bring a team to a Super Bowl, so you could argue he's better than Mike McCarthy, and we'll get into the Cowboys in a little bit. But I'm saying I think you talking about coaching is a good point that needs to be addressed.
I mean, you just can't forget that. I mean, Ron Rivera is a pretty fairly accomplished coach, man, in the league and in his division right now. Currently in this division, I mean, Mike McCarthy coaching the Cowboys, but I like Ron Rivera a little bit more as a coach than Mike McCarthy. So, and but back to this Washington team, man. Also, talked about Chase Young, man. How do you think that he's kind of impact he could have coming back off of that injury, man? It's just because it's not easy as we now know with our running back a year ago. It's not an easy injury to come back from and get back to.
I think he'll depending on what they do with him in training camp. I'm assuming he'll be on the PUP list. But then if he gets off that PUP list, which, ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 PUP lists. There's one that goes into training camp where you can come off, and then there's one that goes into the regular season, which if you don't come off of, you have to stay 10 weeks, right? So, and then they have a chance to IR you. So if he doesn't make that PUP list, I think his impact, like I said earlier, will be appreciated on the field because just being on there is going to change the dynamic of the blocking scheme. Because if you get an 80%, 90% Chase Young as he's getting back healthy, right, he makes a difference. I mean, JPP had a bad injuries last year for Tampa Bay. I know you're like, well, we're NFC East. What am I talking about? Well, JPP still affected the defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and was still a threat every time he played. So, and he had a ton of injuries that slowed him down. So as Chase Young grows back into the role of defensive end, barring any setbacks, I think he's going to change their defense and the complexion of it when he comes on there, allowing Montez Sweat to have more one-on-ones, allowing for people to have blocking schemes coming up the field. McLaurin will be ever
man.
better now with a healthy Samuel and them drafting Dotson. I do believe so. Another year in the system and a competent quarterback. That quarterback is going to – I'm telling you right now, you laugh at Washington, but when you have a competent quarterback, that changes the entire complexion of your team. Not a game manager, a competent guy that has won games in the NFL. Carson Wentz has done it with the Eagles. He's done it with the Colts, and now has a chance to do it with Washington. So expect him to be better.
Part of the reason people just keep trying to be down on Carson Wentz so much is because these last couple of years have been a little bit shaky. It seems like even mentally for this guy, he can't get out of his own way. But he still has all the physical tools, man. And even last year in the app, I know we all know how the season ended. He couldn't go down there and get the job done in Jacksonville to get a playoff spot. But at the same time, Carson Wentz definitely has the tools, and I think this guy knows he's not going to get too many more opportunities. So he's got to make the most of this one here. And for what it's worth, he's back. He gets to play the Eagles twice a year, a team that, you know what I mean, he pretty much feels like disrespecting him in a sense when they drafted Jalen Hurts. So
Big Pat wants to come on. So do you want to invite him quickly on?
I mean, I'm fine with it. I gotta get him a link. Give me a
second. Yeah, I think he wants to defend a point that we were making. I don't know. I think it's a Daniel Jones thing or something like that. But my point, like you were saying, man, like we're gonna move to defense here, but like I can't knock Chase Young for coming back, and they have Jonathan Allen, and then they have Deron Payne or something like that. Like they have decent players up front. Like, they have, were they a bad team? No. They were 7-10. I look at it like this: if our team, played the way we played, right? And sorry, folks, it's hard to see your comments with these bona fide shades on, these stunner shades, but you like them, so I'm going to keep them on for you guys. But the point is, if the Giants ended up 7-10, I think that'd be progress. This guy has won 7 games back to back, and his quarterback was terrible. Now you give him a guy, like I said, I think we're underestimating Carson Wentz. I'm not trying to inflate his ego. I'm not. I really am not. He's not great, but from what they had last year, absolutely better. Absolutely better. So that's all I have on the Commanders. I think their defense is going to be better. Like you said, Chase Young is a game changer. You don't draft him number 2 overall to then not have an impact.
Pat, I just dropped the link in your Twitter inbox.
Your eyes only, Pat. Don't be sharing that with everybody else. Can't be having a log jam of fans trying to get on here, trying to rip Adam's head off.
But Washington, I don't know. Here's Big Pat. Let's see what's going on, Pat.
Hello there.
What's going on, fellas?
How are you?
Adam.
Great, man.
Yes,
good
sir.
To see you, man. I like the shades, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. It's trying to get back all the people, all the haters. I can't see them anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. But I just want to. I appreciate you guys actually doing this. I'm glad Miz sent me the link because YouTube be tripping. You two guys are one of the first ones I've heard bringing this up. I've been thinking it the whole time. I've been trying to find a way to put it out there, but Washington is a sleeper team, man. If that guy Carson Wentz turns into a good quarterback, you got to think. Look at their offense. They got McKissick. They got the other guy. They got like 3 good running backs on that team. They have a decent offensive line, although they lost their guard. I forgot his name. They have a good tight end in Logan. And then Samuels is healthy. They just drafted the boy out of Penn State, Jahan Dotson. You got Terry McLaurin. And they still got Diami Brown. I don't know if guys remember him.
Forgot about that.
So if they gel, don't be surprised if Washington is leading the NFC East, man. When you really think about it, because of that defensive line, when they're healthy, if healthy, and that's a major if, you got one of the best defensive lines in football. You got 4 Pro Bowlers along that line, that front 4. Now, the thing that's going to help us out is we got Evan Neal, and if Andrew Thomas is healthy, I'm not scared of the defensive line if Neal and Thomas is healthy. I think Neal. Go ahead, Adam.
I think the thing that I want to say, Pat, what you're talking about with Carson Wentz is he has to be better than Tyler Heineke. Let's be honest. He's not like he's coming in replacing some Hall of Famer, right? And if you look at the Washington quarterback situation, they won 7 games and they won a playoff game with this guy the year before. Now you give them an actual quarterback who's competent, not an injured one in Alex Smith, right? And not a guy who probably should be flipping burgers at Burger King in Tyler Heineke, right? You have a guy who legitimately was in the MVP race, and he doesn't have to be that good. Like if he plays as good as he played with the Colts, this team is going to be,
Going to be reckoned with.
Exactly. And we want to talk about the Jacksonville game. Yes, he had a bad game, but the entire season he wasn't terrible. Like we have to call
it pretty good. Wasn't he like 26 touchdowns and only like 3 interceptions or something like that?
Yes. He had a decent year, Carson Wentz. Let me bring up the numbers while you guys, keep going on.
Carson Wentz wasn't horrible last year.
I gotta commend Adam, man, because Adam's the only one that got the balls to say things like this. That is absolute truth.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. Thank you. I appreciate that. But Carson Wentz threw modest 3,500 yards. Okay, not great. He had 27 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. 7 interceptions. 27 and 7. That's pretty good ratio, man. For a team,
that's a good ratio. I'll take that all day.
And that was in the AFC South, right? In the AFC.
Let me play advocate to what you're saying, though, Adam. I ain't trying to get you fired up, so don't take it the wrong way. Do you think that he had that success because of that running back over there?
I think partially, yes. I think. Let me rephrase that. I think the reason why he doesn't have as much yardage as like he normally would have is because the running back was so good, right? So he didn't need to do as much in Indianapolis.
Receivers weren't that great either, by the way.
That's right. He had Michael Pittman. He didn't have a Terry McLaurin out there. So to answer your question, yes, the running back didn't help Carson Wentz in terms of the numbers, but I think it helped Carson Wentz overall.
I think damn, what's his damn name, Adam? Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor helped out Carson Wentz tremendously, but 27-7, those are damn good numbers because
I think in the passing numbers, that 3,500 yards, right? I think you got to attribute that Jonathan Taylor would offer almost 2,000. And 1,800 or plus rushing. What was that?
He went for almost 2,000 all-purpose yards. If he didn't get 2,000 all-purpose yards,
right? So if you're that and your guy is balling out like that, that's what I can see. And look at it though, you don't have to put the ball. That also is a catch-22, right? Because then he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. So 27-7 is pretty good, man. Like. And now you're coming in, he's got a running back by committee, but there's still good running backs, right? There's J.J. McKissick is good. Antonio Williams, not Antonio Williams.
Antonio Gibson.
Pretty good. So, I mean, like, if I'm a Commander fan, almost slipped there, fellas, I would be excited right now. I'd be excited because if the Giant fans think we can win the division, what are the Commander fans thinking? Who have a better roster,
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, Adam. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like if I'm their fan base, why shouldn't I feel just as excited? That's all.
Okay, let's turn this NFC East roundup. This is my first time, I think, being on your NFC East roundup, Mac. Appreciate it. Let's turn it up a little bit. As far as the Giants concerned, how do we stack up against the Commanders? I'm gonna let you guys answer first, and then I'll answer if you want to do it that way.
Well. Let's ask you this. How are we going? Are we putting roster to paper? Are we talking expectations? How do you want me to evaluate this so I can give you the answer that's the best?
I want a full, true evaluation of the Giants. Who do you think will be starting? And based on who do you think will start, how do we stack up against who do you think will start for the Washington Commanders? Because we got a good idea who's going to start for both teams.
Well, Mac, do you want to go down the list? We can go down the position and kind of give our evaluation that way. Because for me, they have an advantage quarterback on their end right there. Let's just check that box right off. Right there.
Carson, you say Carson Wentz is a huge advantage over Daniel. Is it a huge advantage or barely? Or
he's a better player than Daniel Jones. I'm calling it.
I think right now he's not. Yeah, that wouldn't lump him into in the cat. Like if I was ranking putting quarterbacks in the category, Carson Wentz wouldn't be in the same category.
Like
Daniel
right
Jones
now,
would be
Daniel
he'd
Jones
be
is probably in my rankings right now third in the NFC East in quarterbacks. If you go number one, I'm going to do production based quarterbacks. So I'm going to do Dak Prescott number one because of the production he had last year with the Cowboys. He threw damn near 5,000 yards, right? Then you have Carson Wentz, who had the touchdown 27-7. Then I would put Daniel Jones just in talent, and then Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts went to the playoffs, so if you're talking about resume, he probably should be number 3. I'm talking about in terms of talent right here, right? We can go many different ways. So for me, the Redskins QB situation is slightly better than the Giants.
I totally agree.
Now, if we move on to the receiving game, I'm going to give advantage to the Commanders, only because Terry McLaurin has produced. Kenny Golladay hasn't done anything. Sterling Shepard gets injured coming out of the shower. And, like I said before, Kadarius Toney gets injured by putting on shoes. So there's nothing proven in that department. So I'm going to say advantage them, right? For now.
Agree, because we have nothing to go on. We have nothing to base on but hope with our receivers right now. We don't know what.
Exactly. I was getting ready to say the same thing, Pat. Hope is all we got is hope.
So I totally agree. Adam, keep going, brother.
Okay, so now we're down to the tight end, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to give it to them, but I'm more intrigued by the Giants tight end than I am with the Commanders. Like I like Logan Thomas, whatever he's gonna produce, but I'm really into Daniel Bellinger. Like he has got me intrigued. Now I can't, for argument's sake, I can't put him over Logan Thomas. I just can't. But for a Giant fan's sake, I'm really intrigued by what he's gonna bring.
So slight edge, Commanders.
Slight edge to the Commanders. Only offensively right now, slight edge QB. Running backs right now, I'm giving the edge to the Giants. Hands down, 100%. There's nobody better in the NFC East than Saquon Barkley. Barkley is such a game changer in the game. And this is why when I tell people about evaluations of a quarterback, right? If Daniel Jones had walked, fine, whatever. But if Barkley walked, yeah, I would have been sad. But the difference between him and Daniel Jones is that when Barkley touches the ball, he could go the distance anywhere, right? Daniel Jones, we'll get into him later. But my point is, electric players make difference in games. And right now, the Redskins have Washington have a running back by committee, and the Giants have a bona fide stud. So I'd give them the edge there, right? Fullback. Okay. I'd probably go with I don't even know who's on Washington as a fullback. I don't think they run with a fullback, so they do an H-back. So I'm just going to go wash there because we have a rookie that right now. Tight end we already went on. O-line, this is the interesting part. Because right now, our O-line is a hodgepodge of players that we hope is good, right? John Feliciano hasn't played center. This is his first time playing center. Mike Glowinski came from the Colts line, so I'm hoping he's going to have some years left in him. I wonder why the Colts didn't sign him, but hey, their loss, my game, right? Evan Neal is going to be an absolute stud at right tackle. I expect him to have some struggles coming out the gate, as every right tackle should. And then Andrew Thomas is my boy. I called him from day one that he was going to be good. People laughed at me, said he was an Eric Flowers clone. How you like me now? And then, you got your left guard, who I actually think is going to be Shane Lemieux. A lot of people think it's going to be Josh Azudu, but don't sleep on Shane Lemieux. So overall, I want to give the edge only to Washington because they played a little bit longer. But I think the Giants, if they gel quickly, can be a force to be reckoned with down the line. So that's the offense.
This is the first disagreement I have with you, Adam. I got to give our offensive line the edge slightly because I don't think Evan Neal is going to struggle that much at right tackle. I think that kid is ready.
Well, right. I'm just saying, like, Bud Dupree is a pretty good player. You know what I mean? So if he has some trouble with Bud Dupree coming out the gate, I understand it,
Exactly. But I think our guards are better than theirs. They lost their top lineman. Schroeder. I forgot his name.
Brandon Shreff.
Sheriff. There you go, Sheriff. I think we got to give our offensive line a slight edge. Just a slight edge, because if Evan Neal balls out the gate, I think this offensive line could be top 15, top 20 at least, to be honest with you.
My only thing with the offensive line is with us. For me, it's hard because I know we appear to have upgraded on paper for sure, but they haven't played yet. And memories I got in my head of our offensive line is it's just not good memories, man. It's just not.
Oh, man, he has PTSD from the O line.
But I mean, I feel both sides of y'all argument because I do see where both of y'all coming from. It's just with me, is knowing what I've been witnessing from the New York Giants offensive line. Even though it appears that we have maybe addressed these things that we needed, made some upgrades, it's just still I got to see it to believe it first.
Well, let me ask you this. Go ahead, Adam. My bad.
No, I just want to highlight Mrs. comment right here. The one where he says, I disagree with you, Mac. The Giants will have a damn good O-line. And he hit your point, Pat. And then I want to address this real quick.
Okay. I just wanted to ask Mac a question. Is your what I want to say is your doubt about our offensive line, is it because of Feliciano?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's just because of him, but it's not because of him. It's just because right now I haven't seen them together yet. I haven't seen this new core together yet. So it's hard for me to really I can't go out there and just say I have all this faith in them when I haven't seen it pan out on the field yet. It's just harder for me to just,
Well, I think
hope you're right. I'm just not.
I think that's where I agree with Mac, because the thing is, let me put my factors out there and maybe people get clarity on why I'm thinking this way. I'm not saying the Giants won't gel and have good offensive games down the line. I'm just saying you're learning a new system, right? You guys haven't got to gel. They don't even hit. Pat, you and I know these guys don't even hit, right? So, if this were the 80s, I would be like, yeah, we have 2-a-days coming up. These guys will have time to gel. They're not probably even going to play the preseason much. So that right there, learning your players, that's what I think they're going to struggle in right now, advantage-wise. Now, if we do these questions mid-season after, the game is played, maybe my viewpoint will be different. Now, I know you're going to say, well, they could get injured and things happen. I'm just saying, right now, I believe the Giants' offensive line will struggle out the gate early a little bit and then right themselves towards the latter part of the season as they deal with less defense. We forget, Tennessee's defense is coming. They are good.
Yeah, they're coming.
And for me, I can't just say, well, this offensive line is going to be great, and all of a sudden, they put up 9 sacks. They put up 9 sacks against the Bengal line that played together all year. That was a weakness, right? They're going to play a line that hasn't played together in all of the NFL, all their seasons, to come in now. I'm a little apprehensive, so that's why I'm going that route.
I got a question for you guys. If there's a weak link on this line, who's the weak link?
I would say Feliciano would be the weak link.
I would too at center. Feliciano at center, I would agree.
Because it's not his true position.
Do you think that we will struggle against teams who have pretty good defensive tackles? Because this is where Washington comes into play. They have 2 Pro Bowl defensive tackles. Either one of them.
We got a pretty good right guard. We got a pretty good right guard in Galinsky. That we know. We've seen him. We've seen what he did with the Colts. We know he's a good solid player at that position. But the left side is still that left guard position is still so up in the air right now. We don't even know who the starter is going to be yet. It's going to be tough to contend with Washington in the middle of that defense.
The thing that I'm worried about is communication, because right now I believe the Giants are more competent as a line than they were last year. And by that, I mean, I think the players are a little smarter that they have. I think they have more agility to pick up stunts and things like that. The question is, will they be able to pick up the stunts right away as they're adjusting to the offense, right? Because, again, they haven't been in the offense for that long. We look at Buffalo, but Buffalo had 4 years of Brian Daboll before they became the juggernaut that they are now, right? They came in. Shane was there in 2017. Daboll came in 2018. 2019 they went to the playoffs, 2020, and so on and so forth, right? And they built their pieces like that. Right now, you're bringing in a bunch of guys who haven't played in the NFL. The only guy I'm confident in right now to come out the gate and give me a good performance is Andrew Thomas. Shane Lemieux coming off a knee injury. John Feliciano switching positions. Mike Glowinski's now in a different offense. Got to get used to it. I know that Daboll, according to reports, makes it very easy on the linemen. So that's something I like to hear. I'm worried about the receivers mostly, but communication could be a factor. But I guess we should move on to the defense. not harp too much on that. So I would say, go ahead.
Secondary, I think it's a clear win for us. Even though we lost Bradbury, I think it's a win for us in the secondary. I believe our safeties are better, and I believe our corners are better.
All right. Well, I can't say anything about that because James Bradbury is – the only guy I like in our secondary bona fide is McKinney, right? McKinney, I know. And Adoree Jackson, I got to give him credit. He was good. I'll give you Adoree Jackson. Two guys are really good in our secondary. The other two, Love is steady, and then God knows what we're getting in Aaron Robinson. So right there, I got to give a little edge to Washington in that regard. I know they lost Landon Collins, but I heard their safety behind Collins is actually better than what Landon was, and will play the money backer or the I guess the dime joker they're calling it now position better. So I gotta see it on the field, right? I'm a little nervous, but again,
gotta remember
if they hold up,
Washington.
Go ahead.
Well, Washington's got a cornerback, man. They got Kendall Fuller and William Jackson III. I mean, that's a pretty solid duo. That's not can't really sleep on those guys, man. I mean, their safeties are a little suspect, but I think I respect their cornerbacks, man.
Well, if you wanted to tell me that they're like the linebackers, I feel are a wash, right? I think Blake Martinez is better than what they got in the middle, and Jamal Davis. Like, let's be honest, right there. I mean, if you're talking about other inside linebacker, I mean, Tay Crowder, I could take it 130 tackles, not too bad. There are other inside linebackers, what Kelly Holcomb. Okay, well, all right. I mean, you could say Micah Parsons, kind of same player. Then you got the outside linebackers. Now, this is where it gets interesting for me. It depends on who you do. Azeez Ojulari against Montez Sweat and Kayvon Thibodeau against Chase Young. Man, I love it. I'm going to be a Giant homer here, and I'm going to just pick the Giants because I just love what they're doing. And Chase Young's not going to be fully healthy, so this is my Giant homerism right here, right? If we talk about production, which people tend to throw out the window, according to somebody last night who told me Daniel Jones is better than Russell Wilson and Joe Burrow, but I guess going to a Super Bowl and winning one doesn't really matter these days. Then that is speechless, right?
I like Daniel Jones, but come on now. Who said that?
I was trolling some streams, me, and I heard this and my jaw dropped, and I said I was like, what is happening right now? Did the world stop? Did I miss something? Did Daniel Jones inject Joe Montana into his bloodstream, and all of a sudden he's now the second come? Like, what happened? But anyways, so Chase Young, if healthy, I give the edge to, but I'm going with the Giants, man. Just for sheer excitement, and because we have Blake Martinez, I think they have better linebacker.
You want to know why I would give the edge to the Giants? I don't know, Mac. If you look like you wanted to say something, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You can finish your thought.
You know the reason why I'm gonna give the edge to the Giants? I think Thibodeau is a better player than Chase Young from the jump. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think he's better than Chase Young.
Really?
And yes. I mean, we could talk about this.
Can you tell me why?
If you want to talk about it offline, we can talk about it.
Definitely.
And I think Ojulari and Sweat are a wash, but I think Ojulari is going to have a monster season this year, man. That dude put in some work this offseason.
Boy.
And to think about it, now Williams has a chance to be Williams again. He has a chance to be Leo Williams again because all the pressure is off of him now.
Well, I mean, six and a half sacks was pretty good, considering that he was double teamed most of the time. I mean, he went from 11 and a half to 6.5.
Adam, they say he's overpaid and trash because he didn't get 15 sacks, even though he was the only guy on the defensive line that you respected.
What in the hell? What? Oh, God. This is why it hurts my head when we do things like this. Production. Watch the film. Look at what you're watching, right? Leonard Williams was a disruptor. Probably the highest disruptor rate in the NFL with defensive tackles. Okay? Or defensive, whatever you want.
Most of the time.
Right? He's been in his career, sorry to cut you off, Mac, one of the top pressure gainers in the NFL. He may not have control. His year that he had 1.5 sacks, something like that, he was leading the league in pressure rate.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know why it's Leonard Williams, man. That guy is a beast, yo.
So imagine Leonard Williams still doing that production, getting pressure rate with Thibodeau and Ojulari coming off the edge now. I think our front seven is just as good as the Commanders, if not better.
Well, the only caveat I would say is the gel factor. I know that we don't want to take that into consideration, but Wink Martindale's defense, they still have to master. As much as we want to say they mastered in training camp, until the real pressure's on there and guys, kind of get you out of your comfort zone. Because remember, you, me, and Mac both play football. Practice very controlled, right? You can control everything that goes. So, yeah, a guy looks good in practice, but then when the chaos happens and, his guy gets, taken out by another linebacker or a tail whip or something happens that's crazy and you're one-on-one, will you be able to win that match? And so for me, I only worry about that coming out the gate. But like I'm with you. I think the Giants are oozing talent from their Ojulari. But Mac, give the floor back.
I'm gonna always have to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I just can't help
yes!
it. I can't.
Yes!
It's the old school in me. I can't
do it, man.
See, there's a difference with all of that. Valid points. You guys all both made too, by the way. Valid points. But with Washington, for instance, with their front seven, we know how disruptive they can be. Truthfully, we're hoping to get that from the Giants. That's like you said. Once again, this is what I've been preaching all season, man. We're so much of the unknown. We're hoping for a lot of things. It looks good on paper, but we still don't really know because we haven't seen it yet. We know what some of our certain individuals can do, like you were just talking about Leo, what he can do when everything is right. And we hoping that everything's going to work out with Aziz this year, working hard all offseason, like you said, all season. It's coming in jacked, like you said, ready to go. Maybe with Kayvon Tibbs on the other side, and if he can be the star that we all hope he can be, it could all look good. But if things go left,
we'll get to Dallas.
It could get ugly, man. I mean, we're going to get to Dallas in a little bit. We're going to get to Dallas in a little bit. We're going to wrap up Washington in a minute. But
we're
just,
right
that's
now.
all I'm with. I'm just with it. I'm one of those at this point, as much as I love this team, we've been bad for so long now that until I see us be good again, it's just hard for me to,
I will give you a clear advantage.
Put myself out there.
Kicker is a clear advantage. I know that people want to laugh. Graham Gano is the truth, man. Like that guy is a weapon that hopefully we don't have to see as much, but can be utilized more in clutch situations this year. I know people. I don't want to see a whole offense full of field goals because that's freaking boring. But again, I also have confidence the Giants can line up and kick a 56-yard field goal and be the ones that walk off with a win, right? As opposed to getting walked off on like they have the last few years. But I think we should move on from Washington and head towards I think the team that we all hate, the Lone Star State, the Dallas Cowboys. And let me introduce the Cowboys, Matt, because I have a few notes in here that I'd like to talk about. First off, the things I want to mention about the Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys are, one, they lack right now. First, Jerry Jones, right? This is one of the most off seasons that was not the Cowboy off season. They lost a lot of players. They're retooling. They've done a lot of things, but there's some things I want to touch on. Like, for example, the guard they got, Tyler Smith. I think he helps the line out pretty well. I think, their offensive line has been pretty good these last few years. Whether you like to admit it or not, I hate to say this, people, Dak Prescott's better than we think. Okay, you guys may not like him. I don't like him as a quarterback. He's not my guy. But if we're looking at production, the guy produces. Now, he hasn't been clutch because in the playoff game, obviously, he didn't do well enough to win. He had 50% completion percentage, which is never good. But my point is, the guy is a regular season guy. He's a decent quarterback, and you got to give him that. And so that's a good start. I do like their receivers. I think Amari Cooper was okay. I don't think they're going to miss him. CeeDee Lamb's going to blow up this year. Michael Gallup, people are sleeping on. Okay, Michael Gallup, I think, is probably one. If Terry McLaurin's underrated, then Michael Gallup's even more underrated of a player because people don't know how good he is. I love Tony Pollard, even though he's a Cowboy. I think he's going to show up a lot more this year than Ezekiel Elliott. I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to be their banger back. meaning like he's gonna give you a few carries at the beginning of the game, loosen up the defense, and you're gonna have Tony Pollard. And then at the end of the game, when they're winning, you're gonna see Zeke Elliott again. And then of course you have their other receiver that they drafted, and then they got James Washington. So I like their offensive pieces. I don't think they're going to be as good as last year. I think NFL Network had them at 9 wins. I had them at 10 in our NFC Roundup table. Right? You had them at 10, Mac? Yeah. So 9-10 wins. That's what I think their roster's built. Defensively, the only guy you really are scared of is Micah Parsons. I'm not really afraid of Diggs. Why I'm not afraid of Diggs? Because, yeah, he had 11 interceptions, but he gave up the most yardage as a cornerback in the NFC. So, like, great. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, great. You intercepted the passes, but if you don't do that every year, you're getting burned left and right. So he really has to improve that in that. And I like what Micah Parsons brings. Obviously, they moved on from Randy Gregory. They got Dante Fowler, who I don't know how I feel about him. I feel like that's a Cowboy retread that's all of a sudden going to blow up because he's in Dallas. I just feel like that's the guy that he'll walk into Big D and be like, and they'll know how to, and Dan Quinn will know how to use that guy. And all of a sudden you're going to see Dante Fowler with like 10 sacks this year. It's going to be crazy. So the Cowboys probably number 2 in the division. For me, I think still Philadelphia on paper looks better than the Cowboys. Then I would put the Commanders. But, Mac, how do you feel about it? And Pat, we'll get your thoughts.
Dallas, though, with me, like you said, we're going to start with Dak. Dak Prescott, he's already shown me what he can do in the regular season, and that is, like you just said, a lot. But at this point with him, it's time to make that next step in the postseason, man, and get some big wins under his belt. I'm tired of watching Dak Prescott beat up on a little guy, and then every time he got somebody equal in his face, it's like he's a different quarterback. He just can't seem to get the job done. Will CeeDee Lamb be ready to handle the pressure of being the number one guy in that receiver room? I think he can handle that. I think he can definitely handle that. And like you said, Michael Gallup, if he can come back from this ACL tear, he's definitely as legit as it gets as a number 2 receiver in this league, man. Definitely slept on, and that dude is clutch. He's made big catch after big catch after big catch for Dallas all the time. I mean, we Giant fans, we definitely should know about Michael Summers, a couple of the big catches Michael Gallup has made late in games for the Cowboys when they really need.
Seems like every player catching the Giants these days.
Whenever they need to play late in the game somewhere, man, Michael Gallup seems to be that guy that shows up. And then also that tight end, Dalton Schultz, man. They took care of him this offseason with the contract, and now he's ready to go, man. He emerged last season as a legit threat at the tight end position. The Cowboys just keep finding these tight ends, man. They just keep stumbling across these tight ends to keep that offense going, man. So with the running back situation, how they're going to handle Pollard and Zeke, I mean, it could be interesting. Like you said, Pollard's more of a home run hitter, but Zeke can definitely wear a defense down. And I think Zeke might be coming out with a chip on his shoulder this year, to be quite frank.
You think so?
Because he had a pretty down season, and no matter what these guys say about they don't watch the media stuff, they don't watch Sports Center, they hear shit. They hear what's going on. He knows that people are chirping about Tony Pollard getting more touches and Zeke and his role being reduced in the offense a little bit. So he could come out there with a little chip on his shoulder, feeling like he got something to prove again. So their offense can still be scary. This O-line, it could be good, but they got to stay healthy, man. And that's what's been their biggest problem, man. There's been too many changes on that offensive line the last couple of years just due to health, and now they lost Lyle Collins to free agency. So things could definitely be a lot different there for the Cowboys, man. So going into training camp, I'm curious to see how they can get that offensive line gelling again, and how these receivers can step up. Now that I know what you said about Amari Cooper, but he still was their number 1 guy and a presence in that locker room, I'm sure, and in the receiver room. So see how these guys.
But you really think he's going to be missed, though?
I mean, I can't really say because I don't follow the Cowboys close enough to know how the relationship is down there with Dak, with Amari Cooper. I mean, that might have been his guy. I don't know, but I think they'll still get over it. Nonetheless, I don't think that's going to actually miss their offense. He's going to be missing their offense too much. They still have enough explosive playmakers to get the job done, obviously.
And I have two things I want to say after Pat goes. Just a question and then a stat.
Go ahead, Adam. And then I'll go.
So the Cowboys last year went 6-0 in the NFC East this year. So my I think the thing I'm trying to get to is when they start out this year, do you think the Cowboys are going 0-2? Because if they go 0-2 but they go 6-0 in the division, they have a chance to make the playoffs. Why I say that is they play Tampa Bay and Cincinnati in games 1 and 2. Headed into week 3, how do you guys feel about the Cowboys' chances of being 0-2?
I think they have a very good chance to go 0-2. Hell of a chance to go 0-2. Yeah, now that Brady's back.
So you think they're going to lose Tampa Bay and then they'll lose to Cincinnati?
Right now, that's what I got. I picked that right now. I got the Cowboys starting off season 0-2, man. That's two tough, very, very tough games. Start the season off with, man. I mean, but their schedule, like I said, you said week 3. We know who they play week 3 on Monday night, so that could possibly
could be
change
the game changer. Could be the season.
Get their season back on track, possibly.
Like Washington game last year was the season for the Giants. This could be the season for both teams going in this year.
True, because the Cowboys start on 3, it's over with.
Right. Well, the Giants lost that game last year against Washington. It was a microcosm of their season, right? So I think I think the same thing. This vortex coming right here, week 3, could be the same for either team. So, anyways, Pat, you had something to say? Sorry.
Yay, it's my turn. Man, I appreciate this, guy. I ain't had fun like this on the stream in a long time. But let me tell you something about the Cowboys. First, starting off with their offense. I think you're going to really see what Dak Prescott's about this year. And Adam, I've been agreeing with you this whole stream, but they're going to miss Amari Cooper.
You think so?
Why? Amari Cooper takes your best cornerback. He takes your best cornerback on the team, and Michael Gallup is going against basically your team's third.
Well, wouldn't CeeDee Lamb do that now, though?
Yeah, but CeeDee Lamb is no Amari Cooper. I'm sorry, he's not. You know what CeeDee Lamb is to me? And when you look at film, he's that guy that can demolish your slot corner if he's not good, which he did all last year. But now he's going to be getting number 1 coverage. He's going to be getting your best cornerback. He's going to be going against the Jalen Ramseys or your best cornerback or whoever team it is. And he hasn't proven to me that he can beat your best cornerback consistently. So you got to think about this. Go ahead, Adam.
I was under the impression that he was that good. That's why they're walking away from Amari Cooper.
Only reason why Amari Cooper's gone because him and Dak Prescott were getting into it.
I mean,
because Dak Prescott wasn't playing well enough. That playoff game really pissed everybody off in that organization. And it really had an eye looking at Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott doesn't do anything this year, look for the Cowboys to move him. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I pulled up CeeDee Lamb's number. They're pretty good. You know, over 1,100 yards this year, 6 touchdowns last year. In 2020, he had 935 yards. So I think. Well, I agree with you that Amari Cooper is not working well, might not work well with him. I can't poo-poo the fact that maybe CeeDee Lamb having production is also a reason why they got rid of him.
No, CeeDee Lamb's a good receiver. I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb is sorry. I'm saying, there's certain receivers that are tremendous slot number 2 receivers, but if you put them at number 1, their production will go all the way down. I think he's the type of receiver. If you have a legit number 1 out there, he's gonna shine because he's a legit good number 2.
Wow.
But if you put him on that outside against that number 1 corner, they're gonna have some issues. And let's talk about the issues I think Dallas will have this year. Their offensive line is nowhere near as good as they were. Think about it. Tyron Smith always gets hurt. You can pretty much guarantee that he's gonna get hurt again this year. Then they lose Connor Williams and Lyle Collins. Then Connor Williams go to the Bengals.
Yep, he is a Bengal.
And then they lost Lyle Collins. So you're depending on that rookie to play right tackle, You're depending on Smith, who always gets hurt. If Smith gets hurt this year, oh my goodness, that offensive line is going to almost look like how our offensive line was. Watch what I tell you. And then and give you a fair evaluation of Dak Prescott. Do you think Dak Prescott's that dude?
No.
Or has Dak Prescott always had a good nucleus around him, like a very good nucleus around him?
I think he's that dude. Absolutely not. But can I deny the production? I cannot.
No, you can't deny the production. But if you have one of the best running games, one of the best offensive lines of football, 3 legit good receivers, and a good tight end for all of your career, to be honest with you, you should put up some numbers. Right.
And I'm agreeing with you there. I don't believe that Dak. I'm saying Dak Prescott is a starting quarterback. Do I believe? I told you before this. I don't want him as my quarterback. Right. I think it's fool's gold to Dak Prescott. Right. He's a compiler. He does great during the regular season, but game on the line, where have you been? Right. So, but in terms of production, I can't deny the fact that he does produce very well, even though he does have a lot of players. He does produce.
And a lot of those yards come in those garbage time too. When they're down by like 20 points in the fourth quarter and he throws up 200 yards in the fourth quarter and they try to come back. But you're going to find out what Ezekiel Elliott is about this year too.
Yeah, well, if he's anything that Max says, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah, if Zeke's not the same, if Zeke is not that Zeke from his rookie year to about his third year, he's gonna struggle. He might get traded during the trade deadline, and they'll give it to Pollard. But their receiving core, Michael Gallup is gonna be hurt in the beginning of the year. Remember, he tear his ACL at the end of the year. He ain't gonna be
he probably won't be ready. He probably start the season off on PUP.
So it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully they sign my boy Cavante Turpin, Team Up Sports. They're talking to him. Man, it's going to be an amazing time when they sign him. You look out for that video. Hopefully I can get an interview with him. But I think Turpin's going to be a Cowboy. They're in talks with him now. But it's just going to be CeeDee Lamb out there.
Well, that brings me to another point that I want to talk about. Because it was in my notes. Sorry to cut you off, man. But you're leading me down this road. Does Mike McCarthy last the year? Will he be the Cowboys' next coach? Because if all this is going to play out, the Cowboys are going to be a middling team as we see, and that means to me that McCarthy will be gone.
These first 3 games, Adam, I didn't cut you off, did I?
No.
These first 3 games, Adam's going to determine if Mike McCarthy is there. I think they're going to lose those first 2. When they turn around and they lose to us, which I predicted them to be, and they start off 0-3, you're going to see Mike McCarthy probably gone by week 10.
Damn.
He's going to be out the playoff race.
Well, nice knowing you, Mike McCarthy.
Whew. You can see Jerry Jones firing in the middle of the season? I mean, I guess if it's that bad.
Because look, this is their last shot. That window is closing. Think about it. Dak Prescott getting all that money cost some key people to lose. They lost some key people. And speaking of their defense, you got a lot of film on that defense now. And they lost Randy Gregory, who was a major part of that defense. And now you have film on Michael Parsons. Now everybody knows what Michael Parsons is.
Yeah, not a defensive end.
Huh?
Not a defensive end.
No, Michael Parsons is an absolute weapon on defense, but
linebacker is his best position. Like, get him out of defensive end. You take him away with those big offensive tackles that just eat him up when he's at the point of attack. When you watch him come downhill, though, absolutely.
Oh, he's a monster. When he comes downhill, he's a monster. But
if you put him on the edge, like if they think Michael Parsons is going to replace Randy Gregory in terms of strength and being on the edge, you're going to take away his effectiveness.
Exactly. And then there's going to be a lot of teams that put a lot of 5 receiver sets against the Cowboys. You want to know why? Because Michael Parsons is a liability in coverage.
Absolutely. You gotta play to your strengths against them. Michael Parsons disrupted the league a lot last year, man, as a rookie. So people gonna be ready for him.
Line up a defensive end and pass coverage.
When you put Michael Parsons in coverage and put him in that open field with them 5 receiver sets, which we can do. So can the Commanders. So can the Eagles. it might be a problem because if he can't sit there and spot Jalen Hurts against the Eagles, that defense, watch what I say, everybody's saying the Cowboys defense no. They were an unknown, and nobody knew what Micah Parsons was. He was creating so much havoc on that defense last year that allowed it allowed Diggs to undercut routes and play and not play and jump double moves and stuff. Now, when you're not getting that supreme pressure because people know what Micah Parsons is about, unless your team is just overwhelmingly sorry compared to them, now those double moves count even more against Diggs because he's going to give it up because he's still going to think it's going to be like last year and I could just jump anything and pick it. Man, Diggs is going to get his ass toe up this year. Mark my words.
I totally agree with that because, like you said, he was, for the most part, he was getting cooked all last season. He had all those interceptions, and then people forgot about that factor, man. The reality is he's not going to come out here and get 10, 11 interceptions again. I mean, I can't imagine him duplicating that production.
I know Cole said something about Ramsey getting 800 yards thrown at him. Jalen Ramsey's a Pro Bowler every year, okay? And him having a couple of games where he slips, that's one thing. Diggs got beat up and down the field. It was masked. Remember Stevie Brown of the Giants? Stevie Brown, who's the safety for the Giants, got like 12 interceptions, some ridiculous number. Masked how bad he really was. The next came back, he was terrible, right? And everyone's like, whoa, what happened? Yeah, because opportunities happen all the time, right? But that doesn't make you good just because you had 11 interceptions when we know that that's a mask of you're like, oh, yeah, he got 11 interceptions, but, yeah, he gave up one of the worst, the most yardage in the NFL.
He gave up over 1,000 yards last year. Not terrible that year.
It's very, very bad.
But I'm telling you, those Cowboys could be 0-3 in the beginning of the season. Mark my words. Especially in the beginning of the season, Michael Gallup is not there, which I pretty much can guarantee that he's not because he's still recovering. It's just going to be CeeDee Lamb out there.
Right.
James Washington, he couldn't make it over there at Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is receiver heaven.
Yeah. He'll probably be above him. AK said what's 11 interceptions if you give up over 1,000 yards? Yeah, that's what we're saying. Max, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Lost track. Yeah, it was James Washington coming over. I think the Cowboys were really hoping that they got a diamond. Yeah, that's more of a desperation sign, I believe as well, Adam. I agree with you guys. I don't think he's going to come in and make that much of an impact in this Cowboy offense.
Well, that's it for me on the Cowboys.
Yeah,
there's another team down the turnpike we can talk about.
Hey, guys, you guys let me on. I got to come and do more of these with you guys. Adam, good to see you, brother. Hope the family is okay. Hope your baby's okay. Well, your baby's over one? Oh, it should be one.
It's coming up to be one, yes, in October. Thank you for looking out, Pat. Always a pleasure to have you. Love what you guys do. Appreciate you stopping on. This is the first of many shows that we're doing with the NFC East Roundup. I think we've got a good thing going here. So,
I know most of y'all probably already subbed up to Big Pat, but definitely sub up to Big Pat's Sports Talk for sure. Doing big things over there, man. You're doing big things.
Yes, sir. We're almost at 8. We're almost at 2,000. Got a couple.
Congratulations.
Wait for 2,000. So I appreciate all you guys, man. Good fellas like you guys. Appreciate you letting me on, but continue to do these NFC East roundups because, man, we're going to have a blast doing this during the season. I can't wait to see Adam go off, boy. It's going to be hilarious.
I'll try to save those for the 16 weeks that matter, right? 17 weeks that matter.
Right. Y'all have a good one, man.
All right, Pat.
Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
That leads us to the dirty Philadelphia Eagles. Mac, I don't know if you're closer or if I'm closer, but we live in Eagle country.
I'm sure I'm definitely closer, brother, because like I said, I can leave out my house right now and be at the link in half an hour.
So can I. It's terrible. We're like at the vortex, me and Mac, of where we live, okay? We are in between hell and high water right now, okay? We cannot get away from this team. I had to buy the extra package thanks to these losers on my team because they're all around here and they had to get the Philadelphia feed. Well, I don't want to listen to it. okay? I don't care about Century City. I don't care about a Philadelphia cheesesteak. And I sure as hell don't care about the Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, though, as an NFC East Roundup, let me get my fandom back in. Pat got me all fired up. He said he wanted to see me get a little frothy. Well, here I am. Rah! Philadelphia gets me angry. You know what I mean? Well, let's get into it.
I don't know. You want to start off with Jalen Hurts, man? I don't know, how you feel, Jalen Hurts?
I know what I want to start with. I want to start with these guys running their mouths about being this great team. They've done nothing to warrant that. Now, I'm not going to anoint them in the 2011 category because I will not do that. However, because they have more talent, that 2011 team kind of overshot their talent. They brought a lot of aging veterans in. This team has a lot more talent, and I like that. But I like American on my cheesesteak. Oh, man, hilarious. I just don't get them from Philly. That's all. Anyways, I think that there's a lot. It seems like there's a lot of drama with teams, right? Washington, we don't know what they're going to be. Dallas has a lot of drama. They had a guy almost murder somebody or some crap like that. Washington's owners are in a scandal with the cheerleaders. Philadelphia's running off at the mouth about how great they are of a team. So let's start right there. I mean, Jalen Hurts, like you brought up, I don't really feel too bad about Jalen Hurts. There's something I don't know. It's not a calming presence. It's more just like, oh, it's Jalen Hurts. All right, whatever. He's kind of ho-hum to me. Clearly he can play quarterback in the NFL. Whether or not he's better than Daniel Jones or like we mentioned on Premium Takes or whatever when we had that group of quarterbacks, is he better than Jimmy Garoppolo, Davis Mills? And I don't know. But he is quite the question mark. Mac, let me hear your thoughts, and we can kind of let the conversation open up like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a huge question mark with this team because obviously I think he's put the league on notice to at the very least respect his athletic ability. So we know what he can do with his legs. Obviously, he can definitely make some guys look stupid in the open field, and the guy's a definite threat when he's got the ball in his hand and is on the run. But he's a quarterback at the end of the day, and one issue with Jalen Hurts, man, is once again all last season. He proved it all last season. Once you force that guy, keep that guy in the pocket, and force him to be a thrower of the football, it gets a little dicey. I mean, I know he's got some good receivers, man, out there. I mean, you brought in A.J. Brown. You drafted Devontae Smith last year. You got Dallas Goedert that looks so good. Miles Sanders. You got Miles Sanders out there. That other running back kid is also a playmaker, especially in the passing game. Kenneth Gainwell. But Jalen Hurts got to still be able to get the ball to these guys, man. And I don't know how accurate this information is, but I've been hearing it ain't exactly been, a harmonious introduction for Antonio and A.J. Brown with his new quarterback, man. It's not exactly looking too sweet right now, but it's still obviously still early in the process.
I want to mention one thing before we continue with the Eagles. Cole says AK didn't give up over 1,000 yards. AK Diggs didn't give up over 1,000 yards. Yeah, he didn't give up over 1,000 yards. He gave over 1,068 yards. Okay, 1,068 yards. Last time I did math, that's over 1,000 yards. But that's okay. It's all right. You can be a delusional Cowboy fan, but let's keep it rolling. Okay. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, it was just, speaking about, Jalen Hurts and his things that he needs to work. I mean, he clearly needs to be a more confident passer in that pocket.
Do you think
needs to be able to? I got to see it. Once again, I got to see it to believe it. I mean, of course, he's an NFL quarterback. He's going to make a throw here and there, but I feel like if the guy's not wide open, Jalen Hurts ain't going to hit him, man. He's got to be able to make those tight window throws with more consistency, and he's got to have, like I said, he's just got to flat out have more confidence in the pocket because, for what it's worth, he's got a whole season worth of tape on him now. So defensive coordinators are going to come out a little better prepared for him this year, and they're not going to make it easy for him. They know what his weakness is. They saw what his weakness was, so they're going to do better to keep him contained. Try to keep him contained, to keep him in that pocket, and force him to use his arm to beat them. And he's got to prove he can do that. And it doesn't matter who his receivers are. He's got to prove he can hit them.
You and I agree that he needs to take that next step. But let me ask you this. In that next step, do you think that the running game and the O line, which you do believe is coming together, is going to be able to help kind of mitigate that shortcoming?
I mean, it's a possibility because if he does have a chance to stand in there, like I said, at the end of the day, he is still an NFL quarterback.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess almost any of these guys with right time and with good time, don't without the pressure in their face,
I mean, it
can
helps
pretty
to have
much
Smith and AJ Brown on your roster.
make the throws. But at the same time, let's who we're kidding. This is the NFL. You're gonna have pressure in your
Right.
face,
Right.
and you got to just be able to. He's got to prove he can make those throws, man. He's got to prove that he can take that next step and ascend to that next level, man, as a quarterback in the National Football League.
I think I want to go to another point here that's interesting. It's Nick Sirianni, right? What will his second year be? Will he be able to grow as a coach in his development? Because we forget that these guys are coaches as well. They've never been head coaches in their own right, right? Brian Dable the same way. You know, the two most experienced head coaches are with the Commanders and the Cowboys, right? Which gives them a leg up on some of the things that we talk about here. Will he be able to adjust the same way? Because remember, if Jalen Hurts doesn't take the steps needed, the Eagles can still function with the Jalen Hurts they had last year, right? They could still be, they won't be the 11-win team that I think they are. They'll be more of a 9-win team, but they could still function with him. Now, will Sirianni be able to do what you're saying, and that's kind of get Jalen Hurts to be here? Because if you look at his progression, Mac, we're only in year 3, right? So he went in year 1. In year 2, he played. He improved on what he did from the previous year, right? There were some shortcomings here and there. Now, can he take another step in year 3, right? Because this is where the development process is. We, as Giant fans, forget that because we have Daniel Jones, and so we want to make excuses every left and right. So, but here's the make or break year for Jalen Hurts. He has an O-line. He has a running game that we deem is going to be better. We believe the O-line is going to be better. That's why on paper I think they're going to be well, because I don't think they're going to put him in harm's way. If Nick Sirianni feels Jalen Hurts can't pass, he's going to develop an offense that's still going to get his playmakers the ball, but also not hurt his quarterback's chances. But let's move to the defensive side. That's where I think they're the most intriguing. Okay,
Absolutely.
at least for me. I know they have Brown and Smith on the offensive end, but they were one of the worst pass rushing teams in the league last year and getting pressures. Now they have Jordan Davis, they have Jacoby Dean, and they have Hassan Reddick. Now, let me know what you think of what Hassan Reddick may bring to that team that some people are lacking when they watch this Eagle team, and your overall thoughts on the defense.
I mean, well, he's going to bring a guy that over the course of the last couple of years has proven he's going to command a double team most of the time. So that's going to could potentially help open up someone else on the other side. I'm not sure whoever the other edge rusher is. I mean, they got a couple of other guys that do.
Yeah, they're going to have I think it's
they still have they have Barnett still or whatever his name is. But
they have Brandon Graham and Barnett.
Jumps off sides all the time, that guy. But but
he's a regular old Eric Flowers.
So Hassan Reddick could bring, and Jordan Davis in his own right, the rookie. I mean, he could be a big disruptor in the middle of that defense.
You think he's going to have a big impact this year?
I think he could. I think he legitimately could, man. Him and Fletcher Cox, man, it's going to be a lot to handle. It's going to be a whole lot to handle in the interior of that defense, man. And then, so like you said, with Hassan Reddick coming out there, man, it does change the dimension of things. And I'm going to straight up tell you this: Jacoby Dean, that's potentially could end up being the steal of the draft, flat out.
Wow.
No reason that man should have lasted.
Man, Max forgets we're not on premium takes. We're on the NFC East Round-Up show. He's dropping premium takes for you right now. Okay,
so
Jacoby Dean, steal of the draft.
I mean, it could potentially work out that way. I mean, I think this kid's a baller. I think he's legitimate. I have no idea.
Wow.
Truthfully, why every team in the league was passing up on him for the first couple of rounds of this April's draft. But he's going to go out there and prove people wrong because that kid's an actual baller. The Eagles got to steal with that one. I'm still upset about that one.
It's funny because you look at the Eagles right now, and I like what they did with James Bradbury on defense. I think people are underestimating how good Bradbury was. He's going to be a good player for them. He's not a flashy player, so don't expect that, but expect what you got from the Giants. A hardworking guy that's going to get you three to five interceptions and kind of lock down the receiver. Remember, he's not the number one, so who's the worst receiver on many teams that you played? The number two receiver, right? So now you have a number one corner who's playing a number two receiver. Advantage Eagles right there. And I think overall, I don't know how you feel, Mac, this team to me has less question marks than most of the teams going in the NFC East, especially the one that's coming up behind that we're going to touch on in a little bit. But I feel like for me, when I look at the Eagles, while I see that there's a lot of ifs and buts, I still see a team that's probably going to be number one in the division. They have a lot of, talent, a lot of depth behind that talent, right? They're getting rid of Rager. They got AJ Brown. They got Darius Slay. They have James Bradbury, like you said, N'Kobe Dean. They have Brandon Graham. They're going to be overall a pesky team to deal with. And building off of last year, I think that's what I'm basing my thought process on. Win 9 games this year. You're going to probably win 2 or 3 more games this year, so 11 wins, and that's what I'm thinking. How is that your thought process?
Well, I'm thinking with this Eagle team is for one, like start off with this. They have so far at this stage of the off season, they have flat out as in the NFC East completely won the off season as far as NFC East teams. I mean, they definitely on paper right now. You got to put them at the top of this division on paper. And coming off of last year, this team they got confident. They got confidence instilled in this team last year. This team was like so. They're gonna bring that momentum back into this year too, man. And their roster looks really, really good, man. It looks like they're gonna. I think they're gonna be a little more than pesky. I think they're gonna be flat out dangerous if this team gets rolling, and they're gonna be a threat in the conference, man. As long as they can stay injury free. Well, injury free for the most part. No major injuries, but obviously no one's gonna be injury free. But if this team can stay pretty healthy, I think they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with come January, man. To be quite frank, and I hate saying that with every fiber of my being. I hate having to say that, but the truth
I had
is,
a Cowboy.
the truth is.
Go ahead.
I was saying the truth is what the truth is, man, and I just hate I hate the fact that the Eagles we had to keep watching the Eagles seem to understand how to do it the right way and rebound and get their roster back in order and be competitive again, and we've
Quicker than us
spinning our wheels for the last 10 years.
Yes, but before we get into that franchise, I just want to mention about the Cowboys because Cowboy fans, it was funny, we're sitting here and they're talking. They like to talk about big things with the Cowboy fans, right? And so the Eagles are the same way. They kind of, they rub you the wrong way. I had a point of where I was going with this, but it left me. It left me. But it'll come back. It'll come back. But we can move on to the Giants now. But I just think the Eagles, while they're fanhood and everything, I just can't look at them and not think that they're going to be good. Right, the Cowboy fans I was with this weekend were just delusional. They hated everything. Let me ask you this question, Mac. Oh, this is what it was, because I remember the conversation now. I asked a Cowboy fan rooted for the Eagles in the Super Bowl against New England. Now, would you or were you or did you root for the Eagles? Detective Adam is in the building. I need to know this question.
I did not openly root for the Philadelphia Eagles in that Super Bowl.
Okay.
I didn't hate on them, but I did not openly root for them either.
So my point is, I did not want them to win. Regardless of how you felt about Tom Brady, I did not want them to win. And as a true fan of your team and the hatred for your team, that's like the Boston Red Sox beating the Yankees to get to the World Series. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Okay? But I had to see it. Okay? And I saw it. And this Cowboy fan says to me, well, I don't like Tom Brady, and so I was rooting for the Eagles. I said, what? What is wrong with you? That's a cardinal sin and rule number 1 in your fanhood when it comes to the NFC East. Okay? You don't root for the bad guys. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they invented, how to get to the moon. I don't know. You don't do it. I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? What you do is you say, I hope the game ends in a tie. That way, you don't lose because Tom Brady doesn't win, and you don't lose because the Eagles now have a Super Bowl. But thank you so much. I went off on that tangent, but we can go.
Well, that particular night, I was just watching the game. I wasn't rooting for anybody. I didn't care who won the game because honestly, Tom Brady, the Patriots had. I didn't really. They had plenty of Super Bowls. The Eagles are the Eagles, so I wasn't rooting for. I wasn't rooting for anybody. I was at my buddy's house. As a matter of fact, he an Eagle fan, big Eagles fan. He had a Super Bowl party, obviously. So I was surrounded by Eagle fans that night.
The drinks were flowing. The chips were going.
I just sat there and watched the game.
I almost cried. I think I almost cried. Because I knew that I thought they weren't going to win in my lifetime, and I kind of, did a little jig to hope that they wouldn't win in my lifetime. Well, obviously my jig didn't work because I still that same jig for the Giants. They didn't win in anything, except the jig is supposed to be a happy jig. But let's get into this spinning their wheels franchise. The New York Football Giants. Mac,
you want to lead off? Football Giants. Well, we all know the biggest storyline with this New York Giant team is always.
Do we want to go that route first, or do we want to kind of let's do the puff piece first? So here's the puff piece. I like the direction that they're headed. Right. I like the coach and that the GM are aligned. I like that. I like the overall positive atmosphere that we're getting, the positive vibes that are coming from the building. It finally feels like the Giants are doing something correct. In how they're doing things. However, the only issue I have right now with these particular gentlemen is they have proven nothing. And that is where my only gripe I have with the Joe Shane and Brian Daboll era is, I want to be excited. I've been down this road many times before, especially with the New York Giants. I think 3 times in the last 5 years. If you want to be clear with McAdoo and Joe Judge and Pat Shurmur, and now here we are back at square one. High-fiving and rosy-cheeking our way to the, ooh, yay, so happy, frolicking in the field. Well, not me. Okay? They need to prove something. I'm not frolicking with anybody. Okay? I don't frolic. That's not what I do. But I especially don't do it with a team that's been caca for the last half a decade.
Got a lot of hope out there. A lot of hope. It's a lot of hope.
The hope is there. And I don't want to take the hope away. But
we don't know.
Mac, I think, was getting into one of the most polarizing players that we're going to talk about. Mac?
Number 8.
Ooh.
Daniel Jones.
Ooh. It hurts.
Year number 4. And right now, it doesn't. He hasn't given us anything to feel good about. To be quite frank, I know about all the offensive line been bad, running game's been bad because Barkley's been banged up the last couple of years. Oh, this. It doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter because he's also himself is not showing us enough, regardless of all of that. He's not showing us enough. He's just not. He's still got to do more. You got to work with what you got, man. That's what these players do.
That's what the NFL's about.
That's what the greats do. You got to work with what you got, and you can't. You go out there and he runs out that tunnel each and every week, and he knows his O-line is bad, so he has to do something to be able to counteract that, to be able to figure out a way to make plays. Even in the face of adversity. You think Joe Burrow had a great offensive line last year? It wasn't even great. It was just average. But he still made do and made enough plays to get his team to the Super Bowl. It's just you gotta show me something, Daniel Jones. And I haven't seen it, man. If your rookie season is looking more and more like just a complete flash in the pan. I know you had Pat Shurmur, who people consider, I guess, a better offensive mind, at least more modern offensive mind than Jason Garrett. But that's still not an excuse, man. That can't be your excuse to just not be able to make plays.
Not yes.
Like
Yes.
you gotta show us something more. So right
Well,
now, there's a reason this team didn't pick up your 5th-year option. It's because this regime is not married to you, but they are going to put up with you at least one more year, and let you
wow.
and see what you got, man.
So
But he. Let's go. What you got, Adam?
So I don't really want to talk about Daniel Jones. He makes me
I know.
sick talking about him. Well, I will because we have to. And the only reason he makes me sick is because what you said, Mac. You got to look at what the talent tells you. And I had a question with somebody who was not a Giant fan, actually. I'll be honest with you. I was interviewing with somebody on an interview, and they were talking about the Giant fan. And we were trying to get to know each other. And I said, he's like, what do you feel about the quarterback? He's like, I don't really like him. I said, okay. Or I'm indecisive about him, or something like that. I said, I got a question for you. Joe Burrow, do you think he's good? He said, yes. Justin Herbert, do you think he's good? Yes. Matthew Stafford, do you think he's good? Yes. My point is, we're indecisive. A friend of mine said to me, your indecision is your decision. The decision to keep Daniel Jones was because of one thing. John Mara came out and was like, well, we gave him the raw deal, blah, blah, blah. And oops, he fell into Joe Shane and Brian Dable's lap. Okay, and now you're trying to tell me that this reclamation project, who, by the way, Jimmy G is not getting any love, right? People would think his career is a little better than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones hasn't done much, and I'm not talking about the excuses that Mac brings up when they talks about the offensive line, because we know that. I'm talking about the functional things that he does, right? Will he control the chaos? It brings me to two questions actually. One, do we think Jones can shoulder the load of carrying this team? Because as of right now, Mac, it seems like he cannot do that. So if he cannot do that, do we think he can show that this year? Because to me, I need a playoffs or bust type scenario. Like you go 9-8, don't make the playoffs, see you later. Sorry. You need to be in the top echelon of the league. And the only way to do that is to be in the playoffs. So do you think he has enough to carry this team?
Based off of what I know, I do not. It's unfortunate, but I can't. I just can't go out there and answer that question with a yes, man. Daniel Jones has just been his. Here's the reality: his rookie season, he had 24 touchdown passes.
Yes.
The last two, that was more than he's had the last 2 seasons combined.
Right. A lot of people say that's a product of the offense. I think it's a combination of both.
I mean, that's just not. You gotta figure out a way, if nothing else, to make yourself better. I know you like to Adam used the Deshaun Watson as an example. He is a great example, like you said, playing on that horrible Houston team. But he, like you said, wasn't the reason they were losing games. It wasn't because
if you do your job and you do your job well, I can't be mad if the defense gives up a touchdown at the end of the game. Right? Someone was telling me about Herbert in this other conversation that we have, and Herbert against the Raiders played a hell of a football game. Is it his fault that his coach goes for a 4th and 2, or his defense can't make any stops? I mean, the Giants' defense last year couldn't stop anybody inside of 2 minutes.
No, never. Right? Every time a team scored on us before halftime, almost every game.
Right. So, but if you go down the list, and this is where I was talking about production earlier with Pat, that it gets thrown out the window. I know it's not the end-all, be-all when it comes to stats, but it's almost like your resume, right? It's how you define who that person is. When he ends up playing his career, people are going to look at his numbers, whatever they are, and determine what he's good at. So if the record is what we see, by the way, he's 12-29, right? In terms of winning, which that's the end all be all. But if you look at those games and those seasons, he hasn't been the reason they've been in games. Deshaun Watson's not the reason they lost. Okay. Deshaun Watson's the furthest thing from losing with the Texans. The problem with the Texans was everything else around him. And don't give me this offensive line thing, because this offensive line was terrible and he made plays. And that's another thing that Mac touches on is you've got to the cards are what the cards are. You can't just say, "Oh, can you redeal them shuffle dealer in the middle of the game when they've already been shuffled." Go do that on a blackjack table. They'll look at you like you got 5 heads. Okay, you can't be like, "Oh, I don't really like these cards right now. Can you keep bringing them out until no?" Because that's excuses. You can't. You got to play with what you got dealt with. right? And if you can't call your bluff, which means make people believe that you're better than you are, then you're absolutely nothing, okay? And right now, Daniel Jones hasn't bluffed anybody. He might be, let's say this, Mac, maybe the NFL's figured him out. He had one good year. They got some tape on him. They went back, and the next year when they go in to evaluate Daniel Jones, they're like, well, these are some of his strengths and weaknesses, which, by the way, he hasn't gotten better at since he's gotten in the league.
I mean, I will not. I give him his ball security slightly better, but it's still not good enough. It's still not where it needs to be. His awareness still kind of sucks. You're right. It's not enough improvement. That's the biggest issue. It's just not enough improvement from this kid over the course. He doesn't look like a quarterback going into his fourth year.
Right.
He by no means like a quarterback going into his fourth year. You couldn't tell me that this dude is now 4 years in the NFL starting this season. Will be starting his fourth year in the NFL. It just
and he still is doing rookie mistakes.
Yeah, rookie vibes totally get rookie vibes from this kid. The fact that I don't put much stock into these things, but people put out things, lists ranking quarterbacks. The fact that people are even ranking, I've seen a list where somebody had Kenny Pickett ranked ahead of Daniel Jones. Kenny Pickett. He may not even be the starter in Pittsburgh this year, but people are ranking him above Daniel Jones. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock into those things, but still, the fact that you're even.
This brings me to my second point then. When do you, because you and I agree, this team might struggle, right? So with that being said, I believe they're going to struggle. Not because they're bad, per se, but because they're learning the new system. And that means, how long do you think it's going to take before they bring in Tyrod Taylor or give Daniel Jones the hook? How many games do you think, if they're struggling? Do you think it's 5, 8, half a season?
I think he probably would get probably at least half the season, unless it's disaster. That's just totally disastrous.
So if the Giants go 0-3, let's just say out the gate, and they're going into week 4 against Chicago, they win that game. Week 5, they're going to London. If the Giants lose that, they're 1-4. Basically, good night the lights, right? At what point do you make the move?
I mean, myself personally, I'd probably make. I mean, if we went 0-3, it'd be tough not to pull them at that point. But at the same time, you look at the competition at the top of the season. I mean, I think the reality is, I think most people would only have us going 1-2 anyway at best. If we can sneak a win against, if we can knock out Carolina in week 2, I think most people would have us losing to Tennessee, Dallas, regardless in weeks 1 and 3.
Well, Dallas might be desperate if you look at that schedule. I mean, I don't want to play a desperate Dallas team. I'd rather play Dallas when they're 2-0.
I mean, so.
But we can get off that guy because, I'm tired of Daniel Jones.
There's other people to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about the receivers or something.
Let's talk about number 26, because number 26 is also a polarizing player, but in many different reasons, right? Not because he stinks, but because mostly he's injured and has trouble staying on the field. Now, I'm really excited about Barkley this year. Like I said, I don't care if he stayed on the team last year, but because you're not paying him that much, might as well keep him, But I think he's going to have a big year. What are your thoughts on Barkley?
Well, look, I absolutely love Saquon Barkley. I 100% believe in the talent of Saquon Barkley. I believe this injury-prone thing is I think it's a bit overblown. I mean, because the reality is he tore his ACL. That happens to a lot of other players, you know what I mean? And he ended up missing his third season. Yeah, his third season, he ended up missing all of that. Came back last year, and it was a very slow start to the season for him. And he, as week in and week out, it progressively he started getting a little bit stronger. And then he had another fluke injury last year, stepping on somebody's foot, spraining his ankle, and it just derailed his season once again. But that was such a fluke, man. But this guy, when he is healthy, the things he's put on tape when healthy, when 100% healthy is it's unfathomable. People can so many people have just wanted to give up on this guy so fast. I just can't do it. Like people can complain, hindsight's 2020. We should have took Quentin
Well,
Nelson. Should have never spent number 2 pick on a running
no,
back.
no.
No, I can't do that. I can't be one of those guys because I was ecstatic when we drafted Saquon Barkley. Ecstatic.
Wait, if you loved him his rookie year, then you can't be
And
that guy that turns around and ground him.
exactly.
You know, like, oh,
And
no.
And by the way, his rookie year, want to get back to that, he did that on a bad football team, a
Offensive
bad
line was
offensive
terrible.
line.
He was getting hit 5 yards in the backfield, people. Literally, 5 yards in the back.
But also the one thing I will say is rookie year, he had Odell Beckham out there, which might have helped open things up a little bit as far as space in the
Yeah, but he was
defense. But
injured.
yeah, but I just want to say go back to saying like if this receiving core can stay healthy and also show the ability to make some plays, that could help open up Saquon Barkley again as well. Because I think we will have an improved offensive line. I like to hope we will anyway, and that's going to definitely help things out with number 26. Man, I think he's still a player. Man, I think I was talking about Zeke Elliott with a chip on his shoulder. Well, Saquon Barkley is also another one of those guys that believe you. He's hearing everything people were saying about him, calling him washed, calling him a bust. He hears that shit, and he's going to come out with a big-ass chip on his shoulder as well.
He wants to get his bag, right? So this year is the year of decisions for the Giants. What decision will they be making? Moving on, I think they're going to move on from a quarterback anyways, but Barkley I'm excited for. Let's move on to the receivers real quick and the tight ends. We'll group them together. The skill position players. I'm really intrigued. My favorite player right now outside of Barkley, the skill position is Kadarius Toney. I'm really intrigued with what a healthy Toney can do. I think he's a game-changing type talent. I really do. I think he can flip the field. I think he's going to do a lot more than people anticipate. And I think he's going to be a deadly weapon. That's why Rondell Robinson to me was a little interesting because he seems to be doing the same kind of skill set, which is fine. But I believe in diversity on the wide receiving core, so you have tiers of guys. The guys don't do just many things. But Kadarius is pretty interesting to me. Kenny Galladay, can he stay healthy? And I'm not talking about like just get on the field, do something. Sterling Shepard, I feel bad for. I don't know what his role is going to be on this team. I really don't. I'm hoping he does something, but every time I hope he does something, it ends up failing later. Sterling Shepard's a tease. He really is. You're like, oh man, we got Sterling Shepard this week. Up injured. Oh, we got Sterling Shepard this week. Stubbed his toe. Give me a break. And then, I'm intrigued by Robinson. Let's see what he can do. But Daniel Bellinger on the tight end position, he's really my really excited piece. I don't know why, but I just like this. We have a tight end.
Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Tell you why, because everything you're hearing coming out of everything about this kid you've heard since we drafted him, since it's just been nothing but good. Everything. You haven't heard anything negative about this kid, and like I said, I was very excited about this selection the day we drafted him in round 4, I believe it was. Or
yes.
Round 4. Yeah, round 4. I mean, I thought he was kind of a bit of a steal at that late. I think this kid's talent is a lot more than people were giving him credit for. People had him listed, had him labeled as like more of a blocking tight end. It's good. He can do that too.
I think they got him early. I thought he was going to go in the 5th round. So
yeah, I mean, he got him. I mean, he's a good blocking tight end, but he also got hands. I hate to use
this analogy because people are going to hate me, but I think he's like the younger version of Kyle Rudolph. What we were trying to get with Kyle Rudolph, a guy who can pass, catch, block, make the yardage, give you some big plays here and there, or Jason Witten or Greg Olsen, that type of guy to me, a guy that can block. I love it. Haven't had a tight end. Don't tell me about Ricky Seals-Jones, please. That guy
I'm hoping we get the next George Kittle. That's what I'm hoping for, man. I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say more of like Greg Olsen's pretty good. I mean, let's be real. He is really good. But I'm hoping for a half a version of that. Kevin Boss with a lot more years. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of player. Don't give me Ricky Seals-Jones because that guy's booty. Okay. But I am intrigued by Jordan Aiken and Austin Allen. I really do like those two guys. I think Austin Allen is a developmental piece.
If he makes a team, then that shows you how bad everybody else is. But I'm intrigued by Jordan Aiken. He's with his tight ends coach from Houston. They came over together. Well, they didn't really come over together, but when Dable was hired, he came over, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Aiken is the number one tight end, Dylan Bellinger's number 2, and everybody else falls into place. But what are your feelings on the receivers and tight ends, Mac, besides Bellinger?
Well, the receivers, they got to stay healthy, man. Availability is your best ability, man. These cats our receivers ain't been healthy for the last few years, man. It's just ridiculous. Go one injury after the next, man. Kenny Golladay, down goes Golladay. Down goes Shepard. Down goes Tony. Down goes Slayton. I mean, these guys can't stay healthy. Who knows if Slayton's even going to make this team? He's another pretty polarizing New York Giant himself now. Because now it's like that receiver room's getting a little crowded. We talked about this before. Like I said, Galladay's got a spot. Kadarius Toney's got a spot. Sterling Shepard's got a spot. Wan'Dale Robinson's got a spot. And there ain't but a couple more spots left there probably, man. And Darius Slayton's going to have to work hard to earn one of those couple of spots that's left. And he's and with his hands, situation with his hands not being exactly being the most surest hands, man. I don't know. Darius Slayton, he's gonna be interesting to want to watch in training camp because he's gonna have to have a big camp and he's gonna have to come up big in preseason, man, to secure a roster spot, I believe, on this team. So and as far as Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm hoping to see what we get from God. It's gonna be a second round pick on this kid. So you use a second round pick on somebody, you expect production. You don't pick a guy in the second round that you expect to just come in and just kind of be hanging out on the sideline. He's this guy you need to see him on the field making plays. And another thing with all these receivers in general, last year we did not have nearly enough touchdowns scored by a wide receiver at the wide receiver position. That's a product of a little bit of both them and the quarterback. I'd say mostly last year was probably more the quarterback just missing guys, but that's neither here nor there. The point blank in the period is you need to get these wide receivers in the end zone. Kenny Golladay, you made too much money last year to not score a single touchdown, bro. That's not acceptable. It's got to change that. We got to change that narrative.
I want my money back on that purchase.
Kadarius Toney, this kid's a playmaker. We got to figure out ways to use him the right way. And maybe Mike Kafka will bring some kind of a spark to this offense that we haven't seen. We haven't really this like I said, I used to call Jason Garrett's offense prehistoric because that's what it looked like, But at the same time, it's still all about execution, and we still weren't executing. So this team, these wide receivers, like I said, the key to them right now, I think, is health. I believe we have legitimate talent at the position, but they got to stay healthy, man. Tight ends, I think we're going to be run by the young guys, man. I think the young guys are going to take the tight end position over on this team. I like Bellinger to start off the season at number 2, like you said. I do agree with that, but I think he will quickly emerge as the number 1 tight end in the room as the season progresses. And I like the other kid, the undrafted free agent,
Allen.
Yeah, Allen. I like this kid too, man. I'm hearing so many good things about both of these two young tight ends, man.
I like this guy, but he's not necessarily a tight end. He's kind of a tight end fullback. Jeremiah Hall, I like a lot too. I'm hoping he's going to be an H-back for them. Kind of the same thing as a fullback tight end-ish. But I agree with you there. Let's move on to the defensive side so we can kind of wrap this show up here with the Giants. I'm very excited about the defense. Wink Martindale has brought a attitude toward this team that we haven't seen in a while, a little bit of a swagger about him. But again, you got to produce, right? You got to produce. And the things that I'm mostly worried about are, as Pat and I spoke about before, are the secondary. And I guess we can start there because to me, the secondary is the weakest point. I think it's going to be the point that's going to probably cost us games in the long run. And what I mean by that is, like, listen, Aaron Robinson's Aaron Robinson. He hasn't started. He hasn't seen everything. Nor is Rodarius Williams, right? If you're going to roll with these young guys.
Proven talent.
Right. If you have roll with these guys, there's going to be things they haven't seen that Aaron Rodgers is going to give them a double take. Oh, look, there's Aaron Robinson versus Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is going to look left, throws right, touchdown, right? You know what I mean? These things are going to happen. So when they happen, I don't know. But hopefully they don't happen. And then when they do happen, we can overcome them. That's my biggest weakness about this defense. I think it's going to be pressure-oriented, which also is going to lead to losses because Wink Martindale didn't stop bringing the dogs last year, even though he had a bad defense, corner-wise. My question to you is, Mac, do you think he'll adjust this year, or is he going to stay true to himself and keep blitzing, even though he might not have the horses for it?
Nah, I mean, Wink's a old dog, man. He ain't coming out with them too many new cute tricks, man. He's gonna do what he does best, man. And this defense got to be able to answer the bell. And that secondary is going to be a question, and we're going to find out. New York Giant Nation, we gonna find out how valuable James Bradbury was, because people been sleeping on that, acting like no big deal. We got Rodarius Williams, we got Aaron Robinson. They're not James. They haven't proven to be James Bradbury yet.
One of the hardest positions to break into in the NFL is the cornerback position.
So we're gonna find out how valuable, how much we miss this defense, miss James Bradbury. Probably right out the gate, because Wink's defense, like you said, very aggressive, blitz heavy, and those corners, they got to be able to cover. They got to be able to cover. You got to be able to make plays. So we're gonna find out, man. A lot of young guys, a lot of question marks there. I mean, I know Aaron Robinson showed flashes, but he's got to be able to put it together. Now he's gonna have to be the guy, and other kind of, so to speak. So
yeah, but it's also about depth too, right? What happens, God forbid, Adoree Jackson pulls a hamstring for a game or two, right? And so now you got two young guys. Let's say this happens, right? Giants are 2-2 per se, headed into London against Green Bay. But the caveat here is Aaron Robbins, Adoree Jackson went down with a twisted ankle. He won't be available this week. So now you have Aaron Robinson and Rodarius Williams now out there against arguably one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. And I know people are going to say, well, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same talent, but that's what a great quarterback does. He makes mediocre talent better. Now he's going to have mediocre talent going up against mediocre talent. So,
absolutely. So, we're going to have to. It's going to be a wait and see. I think the preseason is going to be critical for those guys out there, those young guys getting some reps in the preseason, that was when we dropped another place we dropped the ball at last year. I feel like Joe Judge just did not. He took the preseason for granted a year ago. I feel like
that
young team definitely needed more reps than he gave them. So hope this regime does not. Hope Dable has more sense than that and knows that you can't go out there scared of guys getting hurt, man. You got to get these young guys the reps and get them used to NFL football.
I always equate it to a boxer, right? You don't tell a boxer he has to fight, and then 6 months or 6 weeks later, you jump into him having to fight with limited training or sparring. It's not going to be a good fight, and that's what happens in the NFL. Is that these teams hold back on certain players, which some have earned the respect to. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, some of these guys have, but a lot of the young guys have not. And I always feel like if you're going to play a physical sport like this or a violent sport like this, you need to know what contact is going to look like. You know what I mean? You can't just open up and then on 9/11 against Tennessee, you get your bell rung because you haven't hit anybody all year, right? Or all season. And I think preseason this year, especially for this team, this Giant team is very young. I know a lot of people say we have talent. We're excited. Like Kayvon Thibodeau. Love what they're doing with Kayvon Thibodeau, right? But again, he's a rookie. We got to let him learn.
Absolutely.
We got to let him make his mistakes because the problem Go ahead.
I said he's going to have growing pains. That's like as good as he is, he's going to have growing pains. It's not like
that is a fact.
Expect him to come out and be Lawrence Taylor week one. I mean, that's just not. It's not a thing.
Absolutely, but that's I think, Mac, that's where the fan base becomes kind of blinders, right? Do we expect him to just be this talent out the gate? And Peyton Manning had a struggling season, I mean, Lawrence Taylor was great out the gate. I can't lie. I mean, he had 9.5 sacks. Let's be real. He's like the unicorn of draft picks. But guys take a while to develop. Chase Young, had a good first year. Second year, he got banged up. So you never know. And of course, with the complication of this defense, I expect him to be good. I expect Azeez Ojulari to be the shit. I think he's going to lead the team in sacks. Actually, if you want to put a gun to my head, that's the guy that's going to have the double digits. I think Kayvon's going to get like 9.5, and you're going to see Azeez with 10 or 11.
I mean, that would be ideal. That would definitely be ideal for the New York Giants, and it would definitely be a good sign that the pass rush is back in New York, man, because we need it back, man. And that's what's been killing me with this team, man. I grew up watching all these great pass rushers on this team, man, over all these years, and it's been anemic it's been lately, man. We just can't get it going. I know Leo had the big year a few years ago, a couple years ago. And that's another thing. Get these guys on the outside helping opening up things for Leo in the middle, man. He's one of the better D tackles in this league for sure. But you can't just sit there and just have him getting triple teamed all game long every game. You got to be able to make an offense respect more of your guys a little bit, have a little more respect for some of your guys, open things up for some of your other playmakers, man. But how do you feel about the linebackers, Adam?
I am in love with. I like Blake Martinez a lot. I'm in love with Darren Beavers, Micah McFadden. I like a lot. I think we really need to upgrade on that second linebacker. I like Tate Crowder, but the guy comes in fundamentally unsound. Every time I watch that guy going for a tackle, it's like he's looking at his feet, and that's not what you want to do when you're going in for a tackle. I mean, your head is down. You need to go and lay the lumber. And sometimes he also gets caught up in the wash in the middle. I think the departure of Blake Martinez last year hurt us more than we think. Right? We don't realize how good of an impact, like the James Bradbury thing. We don't realize how much of an impact he was until he's gone. I'm going to think you're going to see a little different attitude out of Blake Martinez. Now, I don't think he's going to be here past this year. I think Michael McFadden's going to be there. I like Darren Beavers for this very reason. He can blitz, and I think that's what they want from their middle linebacker in this defense. They want a guy who can kind of pressure the quarterback. Look what they did with Tyus Bowser and a few other players, Patrick Queen. They blitz very well, so I can see them liking him, Darren Beavers. I'm going to actually say he's going to be the starter next to Blake Martinez.
Well, the one thing about Tate Crowder, since we brought him up too, you brought him up, and Tudo just mentioned something too about him. He's not a tackler; he's a grabber. Tate Crowder, interesting thing about him, he was Mr. Irrelevant a couple years ago in the draft, the last selection of the whole draft, and he's still fairly new to playing linebacker. He didn't get recruited to the University of Georgia as a linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he got recruited as a running back. I believe
you are correct, my friend.
And so you got to put that in the perspective with Tate Crowder too. So he's kind of made it to the NFL basically just off of sheer, I guess, athleticism and just raw talent.
Right.
And
Mr. Irrelevant is relevant,
The fact that he's done the things he has these first couple of years is kind of that's kind of what I do like to see. I like to see a player that's actually developing. He's maybe not quite ready to be thrown out there as the guy yet, as he had to get put out there last season. But at the same time, he's definitely a developing young player, man. And I really like to see him do well because I think his story is pretty interesting considering.
I like him too. But I just think he can always upgrade. I think upgrade, and I think the problem is that Wink Martindale wants their guys to blitz. And Darren Beavers is a little bigger than Tate Crowder, and coming in on that blitz, coming downhill to take on running backs. I think he'll play a role in the nickel defense, predominantly a nickel backer, where he'll probably be a spy when they play like a Lamar Jackson or those type of quarterbacks. So I could see him having a role in this defense. I think he might be pulled off the field on third down, depending on down and distance in terms of blitzing and in terms of short yardage. But that brings us to the defensive line. Like we talked about Kayvon and Aziz. I'm intrigued about Ellison Smith. I like Quincy Roche, but I'm intrigued by Ellison Smith. He's not getting much talked about. I would like to see how he does his camp, to see a fourth rusher in the rotation. But JPP has been my mentor, teacher, and big brother, teaching me everything I need to know as far as explosive pass rush since they've signed him when I was 12 years old. JPP was a freak, though. I mean, the guy did 12 backflips in a row at 6'5", 280 pounds. That man's you can't do that. That's crazy. That's just a freak show. But getting into the defensive line, I'm really hoping Dexter Lawrence is put at the nose tackle. I really want to see him there. I think he's going to thrive there. I think that's what his body type is built for. He's not built to be a defensive end. He's not. Sorry.
They took something, I think, like a slight false narrative about Dexter Lawrence because when he was at Clemson, he was he was kind of decent with his pass rush at Clemson a little bit, but at the same time, that's college, man. It's not the NFL. It's just
Right,
not
but
the
that's his
NFL.
role.
Yeah, so he was playing in the ACC. So it's like, I'm sorry, it's just you're not. That's not all NFL. You're playing against Duke and North Carolina, University of North Carolina. That's not NFL teams. It's not NFL rosters. So you got to play these guys to their strength, and I think that's what the last regime failed to do. And I'm hoping these guys can get people in the right positions,
Right.
and
I
start
think
making plays on the field.
I think to close out the Giants type of talk as we come up to the last few minutes of our show here, I think the optimism is good because, like you said, the coaches are not going to pigeonhole these players like they did last year, right? I think whether or not the thing that I will disagree on a lot of people is with like the quarterbacks and players is like Xavier McKinney still balled out even in this system. Guy still played well even though there was a bad season like Leonard Williams. You still know how good they are. So don't let your eyes lie to you or even the media or the buffoonery that goes on with them telling you how good they love a player. Your eye test doesn't lie. And the eyeball test has told me that number 8 is lying to me. Okay? Because if I were to do the eye test, he's not passing it. I'm sorry. He's just not. And I'm hoping this regime can fix it. But I think like NYG22 said, it's hard to fix a guy with 4 years in the league. That's why I want them to get a new guy, a new regime, get their own guy in that they can mold with what they're doing here. And if we have a problem with Dak Prescott making money, what do you think is going to happen if Daniel Jones has any ounce of a good season?
You know how the quarterback market is, bro. You already know how it is, man.
Oh, don't get me started, NYG, on the soft schedule. I don't want to blow a gasket right now. Okay? I don't hear that crap.
Soft schedule.
Soft schedule.
The soft
schedule.
We're one of the soft teams. So
the soft schedule. For the Washington Redskins, they have a soft schedule. I just read it in a book. They had it in a schedule. They're like, we like the soft schedule that we're playing. They open up with Jacksonville, okay, and Chicago, Washington. Jacksonville and Chicago. They could start 0-2 going into that game against Philadelphia. You know what the Giants start with? They start with Tennessee and Carolina, okay? And Carolina, whether you like them or not, got Baker Mayfield, and it's going to be better. I know people hate him.
A couple weeks ago.
Okay, he's going to be better. I know these pundits on NFL Network are like, he stinks, and he shouldn't be playing in the NFL. No, he is better than what they got. You don't trade for a guy to then say, you're going to be our backup. No, it's asinine. You know Sam Darnold stinks. Why? Because it doesn't pass the eye test. But my point here is that the Giants are not this soft schedule. It's only soft when you play them at the right time. For example, the Eagles played the Giants with Jake Fromm. Do you think that was a fair shot to play them? No. But they won the game because they have Jake Fromm. When they played Daniel Jones, they have a tougher time. It's when you play them and who's playing them at that time.
And not to mention, who knows, Jacksonville Jaguars might come out and be the shit. We don't know that. Right. Nobody knows that yet. They didn't just sit on their hands all season and do nothing. They did things that they hoped made their team better, including getting a better coach, getting a few more pieces in wide receiver, helping that offense, developing that offensive line. Other teams, they also doing things, making moves to get better, man. We're a lot of unknown. I can't wait to see us on the field.
I think
because we don't know what's what. So I can't. This is the most excited I've been for preseason, probably in a long, long, long time. I can't even remember the last time I was actually excited for preseason because I need to see our product on the field before I can really make a fair evaluation.
But Mac, I want to say this, and you brought it up right there in your little point right there. Sorry, I don't mean to be little. Like, I'm not trying to be negative. All I'm trying to say is the point is that damn it, now I lost it. I had it. Hold on. I think the point here that we're talking about is execution, right? We don't know if they're going to execute. We don't know what they're going to do. And like when people tell me about a soft schedule and how we're playing last year, we didn't have the horses and we didn't produce. So how are you going to tell me these guys are going to come out all of a sudden, new playbook, are just going to come out gangbusters? I don't know if that's going to be the case. And I just can't say this off schedule when what if we play Carolina and they have Baker Mayfield and they have Christian McCaffrey and we just went out there and we lost Adoree Jackson, right? And now and our middle linebacker Blake Martinez is slow to come back. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like every team has gotten better. So I don't want to hear about this offseason because you have to have a goal. And this is where my point is. I went on a little tangent. And I'm sorry about my little baby son crying in the background. He also agrees that, you can't just start. We got to crawl before we can walk, right? We got to walk before we can run. And right now, Giant fans are trying to run. We haven't built anything. We don't know how good this team is. We need to get Brian Dable and Joe Shane's guys in here and guys weeded out. We got a lot of moving parts to put together. Oh, the point was this, Mac. We have a lot more question marks than we have answers, and I don't believe all those question marks are going to be answered this season, which gives me pause for this team to do good things with those question marks. And that's my point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like I said, that's what we've been. We've been a team of just absolute question marks all season, man. All this off season. We don't know. There's just too much that you don't.
There's a lot more. A lot of unknown.
Got to see this product on the field, man, before we can.
Dare I say there are
what they really going to be?
Dare I say there are more unknowns with the Giants than any other team in the NFC East? Would that be a fair assessment on the team? Because I think everybody else, Washington has their quarterback and a kind of their team in place. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, we know who they are. Philadelphia, we kind of know who they are. But I feel like the Giants, of all the teams, have the most question marks on the team to be answered. And the question then becomes, not to use all these question marks, but the question then becomes, how many of those are going to be answered and how many aren't going to be answered? And which ones will cost us, I guess. Because to me, I just feel, and this will be my last point with the Giants, is that they're not ready yet to compete with a lot of these big teams, and it's going to show next season.
I get it. I don't know, man. I just don't know. It's just hard to answer that because it's such a mystery. When you bring in a whole new coaching staff and you bring in coaches that are well respected, that teams have watched do like very productive things over the course of your expectations kind of go up as a fan base. It makes your expectations go up a little bit. You think they're going to be able to come in and necessarily capture that same magic that they had.
Yeah, but we have nothing for them to come into.
That's the point. That's exactly the point. So,
most team has their quarterback, under a rookie deal, and you're coming in and trying to fill in look at the Jaguars. Doug Peterson's got it made. Okay, he's coming in. He's got a young quarterback. He's already building his team. He's got that guy for another 4 years at that salary. Giants come in with a guy who we clearly know is not the answer, but we want to keep around because, I don't know, the quarterbacks in this year's draft weren't as appetizing as any other quarterback. I'll tell you this right now, man. If Kenny Pickett goes out and has a good to great season and Daniel Jones is on the bench or struggles, there will be hell to pay. There will be hell to pay.
Absolutely, man. But I know what. For one thing for certain, with Daniel Jones, this is definitely your last shot. 100%. You better make the most of it, young man.
Or you won't be here.
And this O-line needs to just hope this O-line can get it together.
I think people overrating the O-line. I'm not going to lie to you. I think playing together really matters. I really do. So I can't have them. I can't just go out there and say, they're going to be better right out the gate because Andrew Thomas struggled early on, and I think Neal will struggle early on as well because he's not on Tom Brady's team like Tristan Wirfs was, or Jedrick Willis had a decent O-line in Cleveland, right? Look at Mekhi Becton. He's still struggling with his weight issues and things like that. So I just want people to temper their expectations and give respect where respect is due to Tennessee. That defense is going to be good, man. And I'm just hoping our offensive line can have some type of idea of how to play with each other before they go down there, because it could be a long afternoon.
I absolutely agree, man. Now, like I said, I love it. We talked about on our breakdown, or the schedule breakdown. I love that test right out the gate, man. Go get them, man. Go get them. Go. Let's bring that heat, Tennessee. You know what I mean? That's a team, a proven team the last couple of seasons, legit the best team in the AFC regular season last year. Great test to start the season out with for this young team, man, and see exactly where we are, man. I think it's just a great litmus test, man. See where we are on where we truly are, what we can be, what we need to do to get where we need to be.
It'll be a great test out the gate, that's for sure.
But everybody, man, it's been real up in here, man. Appreciate everybody coming by for another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up with me and my guy Adam Costas, Tudo NYG22. Oh man, all you guys in the chat: Olivia Quinn, Neymar, Zion, Stop Through, Coach Dante, Cole's Cowboy, Wales, AK, Philly B. All you guys, man, I really appreciate y'all. Miz earlier, Big Pat, man, shout out to Big Pat for coming on the show earlier, man, dropping some wisdom. Eric Seabrook, man, I love all you guys, man. We do this, man, and it's getting real, man. It is getting. Oh, no problem, man. YG22. Everybody, please go sub out the Unpopular Sports Opinions, man. NYG22 coming up, man.
Mac is here.
Dropping some knowledge, man. And everybody, man, this is the Real Deal NFC East Roundup, and we get ready to bring this to you every Wednesday night. Not starting next week. I'm not going to be here. Your boy going to be in Mexico next Wednesday. But I promise one thing: if I do the shot with the tequila shot with the worm, I will upload the video on my YouTube channel so y'all can see. If I do the tequila shot with the worm, it's something on my bucket list. I want to knock it out. I'll be in Mexico, so I'm gonna try to knock that out. And everybody, man, in a couple more weeks, we're gonna be bringing this to you each and every Wednesday from all the preseason all through the regular season. Me and Adam Costas, man. Any final thoughts, Adam?
All I have to say is, Mac, thank you for having me. This show has been fire. Thanks, Big Pat, for coming on. People, you need to tune in, because I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss Wednesday nights at 5:30. We're going to give you everything you need to know, every storyline, every tackle, every hit, everything you need to know about this black and blue division. And I can't wait to do it. I have the best co-host in the world, in the galaxy, and on anywhere in this entire universe, MacDaGiantsFan. He's a great guy. He's awesome. He's invited me on here, and we're going to give it to you every Wednesday night. I hope you're ready.
Most definitely, man. We definitely appreciate y'all, man. And like I said, in a couple more weeks, it's going to be a regular thing each and every Wednesday. As soon as that preseason get underway, it's going to be on and popping. Every Wednesday night, you're going to get me, Adam Costas, with the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, MacDaGiantsFan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at MacDaGiantsFan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.